Ready to head to the Southwest? And no, we're not talking about the airline. Tune in to hear how Jess and Megan both recently completed trips to Scottsdale and Albuquerque with their families. All on points, of course. Welcome to Points Talk with the Travel Mom Squad. Hey, I'm Alex.
And I'm Jess. Let's talk points. Our director of operations, Megan, is back today as we take a deep dive into some recent family trips that we have taken. I just returned literally yesterday from Scottsdale. My family and I stayed at the Grand Hyatt Scottsdale, and Megan returned from a trip to Scottsdale and Albuquerque back in February. So, we are here to break it all down for you and exactly how we did it using points and miles. So, first, Megan and I are both going to talk about how we got to Scottsdale. She will also cover Albuquerque. So, my family flew Southwest, of course. I know a lot of people have mixed feelings on Southwest currently because of all of the changes that they are making to their brand. Basically, they're not Southwest anymore, but we happened to get a really good deal on Southwest we flew direct from Houston to Phoenix. It was only 26,000 Southwest points round trip per person. And then Molly flew as my companion. So Ted and I each paid 26,000 round trip. Molly was my companion. And then my stepson, Charlie, also met us in Phoenix. He goes to school in Missouri. So he flew from St. Louis to Phoenix, and his was 36,000 Southwest points round trip, which is a little steeper. His was kind of a last minute, oh, I want to go with you. Like we had been talking, we had invited him when we booked it, but he's in college. And so his schedule's a little bit more up in the air. Anyways, I think a few weeks before our trip, he decided he did want to go. And so if I had booked his flight further in advance, I think I could have gotten a better deal, but still not terrible. We did rent a car. We 95% of the time rent cars through Costco Travel. I just like that you don't have to give any card information. You can literally cancel your rental up until the day of your rental. And we have Avis preferred status through our Amex Platinum business card. And so I try to book through Avis whenever I can because you can still enter your loyalty number on Costco's site and get your Avis preferred perks. Like we were able to skip the line and immediately pick up our car. And so that is a huge time saver. The line was so long. And so for our 4 days, we got a standard SUV. Ted and Charlie went golfing and brought their golf clubs. And so we needed a bigger car than just a tiny little compact. So it was $291 through Costco Travel for our 4 days. Megan, I don't know how you feel about this. I think you could go to the Grand Hyatt Scottsdale and not rent a car if you didn't want to leave the resort at all. I will say the food is pricey. It's typical
Yeah.
resort prices. And so we liked being able to go to In-N-Out and get a really cheap lunch or dinner. There's a lot to do in Scottsdale. And so I feel like it would kind of be a shame to not leave the resort. So for us, it was never a question like, yes, we are renting a car. What do you think about that?
Yeah, and what totally the same. We rented a car. We are not like resort people to just sit at the beach or pool all day,
Yeah.
especially with kids. So we got out and we were in Scottsdale. We went down to the Tucson Rodeo. We went to Saguaro National Park, and that's all within like 2 hours of the Grand Hyatt. So having a car just gave us so much more flexibility on getting out and doing some sightseeing while we were there, especially since national parks are so close. Like when you're out west. It's not like here on the East Coast where there's like two national parks.
Yeah. I mean, I think the money that you save on food will
Yeah.
cover your car rental by
Well, yeah,
not being
291 is a really good price for a car, which I mean, it wasn't like a week or anything, but it's still a good price. We rented a car when we went there too, and I would not rent a car. Like to me, it's not even a question. We didn't have Globalists when I went. I wasn't a Hyatt Globalist yet, and so we weren't gonna. I think we ate breakfast at the hotel once, but we went out to other restaurants nearby, and like, yeah, it just would have been pricey to eat at the resort. And it's not like they have 5 restaurants to choose from either. It's not that big of a resort. So you might get tired of the food too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of globalist status, so if you do rent a car and you're not globalist and you don't have guest of honor, you will have to pay for parking. Self parking is $30 a night, which is pretty steep. And valet was $38 a night. So I have global status. I believe Megan stayed on a guest of honor
Yep.
award. And so, and on points, you have to stay on points for free parking. So we were both able to get the parking comped. I do feel like $30 for self parking there
Yeah.
is ridiculously high.
Yeah, and their parking lot's a little rough.
Yeah.
They've had this big renovation, so I feel like the parking lot's coming. Like, hopefully they will repave it, but it was like a 2-minute walk from self-parking to the hotel. We just walked right up. It was super easy.
Yeah, we did like even though we technically had valet included, we also self-parked because it's so close to the hotel that it
Yeah.
didn't really make sense for us to wait for valet to bring us our
Yeah.
car. Okay, Megan, so tell us about how you and your family of 4. I know Tim couldn't make it, so it was just you and the 3 girls. So tell us how y'all got from upstate New York to Scottsdale.
So we also flew Southwest. We have 2 companion passes this year. And Tim couldn't come at the last minute, so kind of like you, where we had 1 ticket last minute where I had to cancel Eleanor as his companion and pay for a ticket, and hers was a lot more than ours. But we flew from Rochester. We have a direct flight to Las Vegas. So on Southwest, it was 14,000 points with a layover in Las Vegas, then into Phoenix, which is awesome from the East Coast. And then on the way home, we flew home from Albuquerque and then did the opposite. So we went Albuquerque back to Las Vegas and then to Rochester, and that was 17,000 points. And we were there President's Day week, which is we have a winter break that week in February, and I think a lot of schools in California do too. So it was pricey, but when I booked our flights super early, it was really reasonable. Eleanor's was probably like it was like 26,000 points one way, so it was close to 50,000 points round trip for her ticket last minute. But the nice part was I didn't have to cancel mine and the other 2 girls. I just called Southwest and was like, I have to cancel this as a companion and book her own flight, and they were able to link her ticket to mine, so then I didn't have to cancel the other ones and I could keep that good pricing on those ones.
I think Southwest customer service is really good. Like anytime I've ever had an issue with booking or changing a flight, I just call them and
Yeah.
they take care of it within minutes. And so I've always been impressed by
Yeah,
that.
it only took a couple minutes. She was like, "Oh, yeah, I can totally do that. I'll just add her," because I was worried. I was like, "Well, she's a minor. Like, how is this gonna work?" And it was really no issue at all. They just linked it right to mine, and so when I checked in, her stuff checked in too.
All right, so we will get started with Grand Hyatt Scottsdale, which is where I only went there. Megan started her trip at Grand Hyatt Scottsdale. We were really excited. We were
What do you
both really
mean? Oh,
excited
yeah.
about this.
And I stayed at Hyatt Regency Scottsdale back when it was a Hyatt Regency.
Yeah, so it just underwent a $115 million renovation and rebranding. Like Alex said, it used to be the Hyatt Regency Scottsdale. Now it is the Grand Hyatt Scottsdale. I believe the only Grand Hyatt in Arizona at this time. So that was really exciting. As soon as I heard that that was happening, I was like, I have to go stay there. And so it is a category 6 Hyatt hotel, which means that it will run between 21 and 29,000 points a night, depending on if you're staying at off peak, peak, or standard pricing. I paid 83,000 points for our 3 nights. We were there for 2 peak and 1 standard. So standard rooms are either 1 king bed or 2 queen beds. So Megan stayed in a 2 queen room with her family of 4. We could have stayed in a 2 queen room also, but my kids are a little older and they're adult size. And so it's just hard to fit 4 adult size people in one room sharing one bathroom. So I redeemed a suite upgrade award to a fountain court suite. This is a standard suite and it is huge. If you have suite upgrade awards to use, I think this is an excellent use of one of them. Or if you just want more room and you want to pay the points rate for a standard suite, I think it's totally worth it. So there was a separate bedroom with a king bed, and I came to later find out that the little chair in the king bedroom also folded out into a single bed. And then there's a door that separates the bedroom from the living room. There's a living room with a fold out sofa bed, 2 full bathrooms, 2 balconies. And so it was really nice for the 4 of us to have all that space and a really great use of a suite upgrade award. Megan, tell us a little bit more about your 2 queen room.
Yeah, so I booked a standard room. All 3 nights were peak nights since this was over President's Day week, so I paid 87,000 points, and I still think it was worth it. Like, my kids loved this hotel. And so we had a guest of honor applied to our reservation, and they upgraded us to a 2-queen mountain view room, which gave us a view of, like, the pool area. And at check-in, they tried to find us a suite. It was really busy when we were there. And the only option they had was a ground floor hotel. And I was traveling by myself with 3 kids. And I was like, I don't like having more than one entrance to our room. Like, let's stay at the Mountain View room. That's fine. And like they were very accommodating and trying with even a guest of honor award and not like true globalist status. They were trying to find a good upgrade for us.
I thought the queen rooms were actually pretty big. Did you feel like that, Megan?
Yeah, I don't know if they would allow a rollaway bed, but I bet one would fit easily, especially so there's 2 beds and then we had a balcony and there was just a little table in the corner and you could fit easily a rollaway bed in the side if they would allow it.
Yeah, we had a crib because at the when we went, my youngest was like 18 months old, and we had the crib in there like that they brought in. Plus, like, do you guys know what are they called? Those like dark canopy things.
Oh, like the little pop-up
Sleep
tent
slumber pod
things?
thing.
Yeah,
Slumber pod.
So we like had our slumber pod in there. And it worked great. Yeah,
Mhm.
like we had plenty of room. I thought like the bathroom was really big. I mean, it wasn't upgraded yet, but it was still like, well, this is a big, decent sized room
Mhm.
for us to fit in here.
Yeah.
So did all 6 of you stay in one room then?
Yeah, we did. And you know what?
Oh.
I thought it was it was actually fine. Granted, like this was in 2022. So my kids was 3 years ago, so my kids were smaller. Now I would use a suite upgrade award and get the fountain court suite since I have globalist and all that. But with young kids, it was actually fine. Like
Yeah,
the
and even if
younger 3 shared a queen bed. I mean, the older 3 shared a queen bed and fit fine. Mitch and I had a bed, and then the little one slept in the crib. So it
yeah,
was
and
fine.
honestly, even if Tim was coming, we were gonna stay in a 2-queen room. I was
Yeah.
gonna roll my chances. Like, if we could get an upgrade, we'll get an upgrade. If not, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, and I will say that they do not have wristbands for the pool here. The pool access is by key card. So do with that information what you will. So the other thing is the club lounge just opened. Megan, didn't it open right
It was
before
like the
you
week we
were
got
there?
there, it opened. So we had some growing pains.
So it opened in mid-February. The club lounge has been a hot topic. People are very divided on this. We had a great experience with it, but I think that they got so many complaints that they are starting to get their act together.
What were people upset about with it?
It's a little on the small side. And so it
Okay.
is nice because there's an indoor and an outdoor area. And I feel like Scottsdale has weather. I don't know, in the summer it might be kind of tough out there.
And even in
But
February, it was chilly in the morning. So they had the doors closed most every morning for breakfast. And there's maybe 20 seats. Maybe. Maybe
Oh,
more.
wow. That is tiny.
It's very small.
so it's on the smaller side. There were complaints that, like, basically as soon as the food was put out, people would swarm it and it would just be gone. Like they couldn't keep up with the demand. And so, yeah, I don't know if we just got lucky and maybe because we were there over Easter weekend, but it really wasn't super crowded. And so maybe we just got lucky. I did ask because I think, Megan, were they not accepting club access awards while you were
Yeah. So
there?
when I was there, since we used the guest of honor, we had the club lounge access. But somebody asked me, they were like, "Oh, will they accept the club access awards?" And I just assumed, I'm like, "Well, yeah, why wouldn't they? Like the club lounge is open." And multiple people had like said that no, like I've tried to apply it, they won't let me apply it, and they said they're not accepting them. And this was people preparing for like spring break trips, so probably like March, April timeframe. So that might have changed by now. I'm not sure.
I asked at checkout about it, and they said they will accept club access awards if there's availability.
Mm.
Given the size of the club, I imagine they do not have a ton of availability outside of globalists and guest of honor.
Yeah.
And so if it were me and I wanted to redeem a club access award, I would basically try to apply it as soon as you book your trip. Because I think the further out you try to apply it, the better chance you have of them having availability for it. So the way it works is it's open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. I feel like 8 is not very late for it to be open. Maybe they will eventually change the hours, but it's currently 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. They have breakfast from 6:30 to 10:30, appetizers from 5 to 7, and then dessert from 6:30 to 7. You can go all day and get like sodas. They have a latte machine, water. They had like M&Ms and cookies and Chex Mix throughout the day, and Molly and Charlie would like fill up cups of M&Ms and just take I was like, this is your but we saw so many kids like filling up huge cups. I was like, you're like Pam. This is something Pam would do. But the breakfast was okay. I prefer a restaurant sit down breakfast. I even asked, I was like, can I forego the club lounge access and just go to the restaurant? And they were like, no, sorry. So it's usually 2 hot items per morning. Like while we were there, they had French toast and bacon one morning, scrambled eggs and sausage links one morning. So just 2 hot items, and then fruit, yogurt, pastries, the like
So
cheese
no
and
like
cracker.
made to order eggs or anything.
No, no,
Okay.
no, no. They do have a latte machine that allows you put an extra shot in your coffee, in your latte. So I appreciated that. And they have like caramel and vanilla syrups you can. So I thought it was good. The service in there was really good. That was the other thing people were complaining about, that like there was no one working in there and they would just leave the tables dirty, and then birds would fly and like eat the food off the
Oh,
plates, and
gosh.
no one would clear the tables. We did not have that problem.
Yeah.
And so
We didn't have that problem either.
there were always like at least 3 people working in there, clearing tables, replenishing food. The appetizers, we did not, there were a ton of people just like having their dinners in there between 5 and 7.
Yeah.
To me, like we never considered doing that because it was like little sandwich rate, you know, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
I would
that's
definitely
not a
say
dinner.
That's not a dinner.
I would
No.
say it's not enough for dinner, even with my kids who are very picky and can basically just eat a bunch of vegetables and bread. I don't think there was enough to constitute a dinner for our family.
But it would Charlie went in there, you know, having a teenage boy, we saved a lot of money because he was like, I want to go get that. They had like egg rolls one night as
Yeah.
the appetizer. And I was like, but we're going to dinner. And he was like, so this is my appetizer. And he went and got that. They also have from 5 to 6 a cocktail hour that is complimentary. And so they have beer, wine, and hard seltzers. And so I would just go at 5 and like get a hard seltzer and bring it to the pool instead of paying $17 for a cocktail by the pool. So I thought that was pretty nice that they have cocktails included also.
Yeah.
So that's a lowdown on the club lounge. Now we'll talk about some of the offerings of the resort itself. It is a huge resort. There are 10 pools at the resort, and there's a 3-story water slide, which I found scary. It was
Oh my
going.
gosh. No one went down that one. Well, actually, did he go down it? I don't know if they let him.
You
but
have to be
There is a
42
height
inches.
minimum.
Okay, he didn't go down it then.
You have to be 42 inches. So I don't think Noah went down it. It was just
But
bad.
my 6-year-old did. So
Yeah. And I was telling Jess, I was like, Rose is kind of a scaredy cat. And she eventually went down it a couple of times, but she was like bracing herself going down. So she came out so slow.
I think whips you around. I was not prepared for that. They also have a little beach area, like a 0 entry beach area with sand. I hate sand. I stayed as far away from that as possible, but there were a lot of little kids with like sand toys digging in the sand. So if that is your
that
thing.
was a hit when we went for us.
Yeah.
That was a hit. Though, just to clarify really quick, the pool area didn't change, right? Like I believe it's still the same.
I never went when it was a Hyatt Regency. So
Yeah.
I
mean, it had
do
like when
not
I see
know.
pictures, I'm like, yeah, that looks like the same place that we were at. And the 10 pools is also like, I feel like when you hear 10 pools, you think, wow, 10 big pools. It's like one pool might be like
Small. Yeah.
like a 10, like a 5x5 square.
Yeah.
Like it's like the big pools are like put into like little sections.
Yeah. Like there was like a lap pool. There was a pool that had like volleyball net set up, so you could play volleyball in the pool. There was like another pool that was off to the side that was just there was like nobody in it. My kids really liked the big pool, so we just stayed there most of the time.
Yeah.
The other nice thing is there's an adults only pool that is completely separate from the family pool. And so a completely separate entrance. It is 21 plus. They have a hot tub there also. So I thought that was really nice. Like I would potentially stay here with just adults. You do have to realize that that's the only place you're probably going to be able to go and not have a ton of kids running around. So if you want to like avoid kids altogether, then no. But I did think like, and it's a big pool too. So I thought that that was kind of cool that it's in a completely separate area away from the family pool. They had floats provided. And so you don't need to bring any of like they had the tubes and like these orca ride-on floats. And so those were a big hit with Charlie and Molly. They have a little putting green where you can get, I think it was like 4 or 5 holes, very small, but you can get little putters and balls and play a little putt there. They had a
My
rock.
kids really liked that.
Yeah.
That was fun.
They had a rock climbing wall, which I thought was cool. I did not do it. No one in my family did the rock climbing wall, but it was there if rock climbing is your thing. And
Do they
then
still have a playground?
it was closed while we were there,
Okay.
but it did exist.
Okay.
Yeah, but since we had our rental car, like 5 minutes down the road is a brand new Scottsdale playground. They're putting in a like splash pad, and there's a free railroad like miniature exhibit. And that was like 5 minutes from the hotel. And we spent multiple hours there. It was really great.
That's fun.
I will say that the playground they had on property did not look in the best shape.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that's why it was closed, probably dangerous. But yes, I did see it and it does exist. I just would not let my child play there, even if it weren't closed. The other thing we thought was really cool was they have a Birds of Prey show on Friday nights. And it was extra cool because our suite balconies looked out onto the green area where the Birds of Prey show was. And so we just watched it from our balcony. We didn't even have to go fight the crowds to get a seat, but they brought out 6 different birds. It was like falcons, owls, I don't even know what. And they put on a little
Did they bring out a bald
show.
eagle? I remember they brought out a
Yes.
bald
Yeah.
eagle. That was really cool.
We weren't there on a Friday night, but in Friday morning, we ran into the guy that's the handler for the owls and eagles and all that. And you could just go up and he would have the bird like on command, like do different poses so you can get pictures with the kids. And it was just like a nice, like fun perk.
Yeah. I think he walks around all week long with an owl and kind of, so even if you aren't there on a Friday night, like Megan said, you probably will see him around and he's very excited to talk about the birds and the owl. So don't be shy about going up to him and chatting with him.
Jess sent me a picture of her in Hedwig.
Yes. Yep, I met Hedwig. No, its name was actually Lizzie, but I said I was going to call it Hedwig. Okay, so as far as food goes, we did not eat a ton on property. It's near so many restaurants. I feel like you don't need to eat on property a lot. If there are any I was about to say home chef. If there are any Top Chef fans out there like I am, Richard Blaze recently opened an Italian restaurant at the Grand Hyatt. So we had to make a reservation there and go there for dinner one night. And it was very good. It is very expensive. And so you just gotta, if you don't like paying a lot for food, you should not make a reservation there. But if you are a Top Chef fan or just love Italian food, then it is a really good spot. Ted and Charlie were golfing one day, Molly and I had pizza at the Mesa Central, whatever like the restaurant, like the downstairs restaurant is there. And the pizzas were $25 each. So a little on the pricey side. We probably could have split one and we should have done that. They did have a kids menu and I think the kids dishes ranged from like $8 to $10 each. They had burgers, chicken tenders, grilled cheese, that sort of thing. But those were really the only 2 times we ate on property other than at the club lounge for breakfast.
Yeah, and we ordered takeout from the bar, like the pool bar the one night, because it was like 5 o'clock, everything was starting to close for like the pool area, and I was like, well, let's just get our food and we'll just go up and do early bedtime. And that worked out really well. And it was pretty good. We just had chicken tenders, french fries, and like a club sandwich, I think.
Yeah. So just like standard resort food, standard resort prices. I think you can view all the menus on their website with the prices if you want to get a better idea of what things are going to cost. Okay, there was a big miss, in my opinion, for them. Megan did not experience this because she was there during the week. We were there.
I experienced it. Jess sent me a video and I was like, oh my gosh, I remember this. I had forgotten about it.
So we were there a Thursday to Sunday, and coincidentally, they have live music on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights from 6:30 to 9:30. 9:30 isn't that late, but to us it felt like 11:30. And so that also added to the pain of it. Y'all, I love live music. If this was just like an acoustic set or like jazz music or like someone playing a piano, I thought it was a wedding reception the first night I heard it. It is a full band with lights, and they were singing "Play That Funky Music, White Boy." And I was like, what is going on?
And it's right in the courtyard, right?
It's in the lobby, but like the doors, it's like all open air. And so it's in the lobby. So loud. And then we get to our room, which is on the fourth floor. You can hear, I felt like I was at a concert in our room. And
she sent me the video and I was like, you wouldn't even believe how loud it was. It sounded literally like the concert was right outside her door.
Because I was like, I needed a pulse check, because I was like, am I being dramatic or is this ridiculous for a resort that is meant for families with young kids?
Most people are going to bed, like putting their little kids to bed like 8:30.
Yeah.
Some even earlier. Like for us, we were in our room and I had to like turn a sound machine up like super loud and we could still hear it. I can't believe 3 years later that is still a thing and they haven't had enough complaints to shut that down, because we were a little like my room where I stayed was like across from where Jess was, but a little closer to the poolside, and it was so loud too. So I don't know how they don't have people complaining so much that doesn't exist anymore, or it's not like, oh, let's turn the volume down, or let's have this end at 8:30.
Well, and it was like when we were down there, because I was like, what is going on? Is there a wedding reception? It was probably like 8:30. It was all adults sitting around listening to the music. Like there weren't kids dancing or,
the parents were putting their kids to bed.
Yeah.
So I was like, wait, is this family resort or is this an adult resort? So that really put a damper on things for me. It was hard because we were there all 3 nights that it happened. There was no break, And so I do think I would return. I would not stay Thursday, Friday, Saturday again. Like it impacted my experience that much.
Well, even if you're not trying to sleep, that's just, in my opinion, really annoying. It's just really annoying.
You can't enjoy your balcony at night. Like if you try to sit on your balcony, like I wanted to just sit on my balcony and read a book. No way. No possible way.
Jess, when this airs, Jess will have recapped this on Instagram and there will be a highlight bubble. Jess is going to put the video, right, Jess? You have to put that video so you all can hear how ridiculous this was.
I have a video from the balcony and from inside the room, so you'll be able to hear both. So I personally would not stay there again Thursday, Friday, Saturday. If I were going to go, I would stay like Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then I'd only have to deal with one night of it because it was so bad. And in general, Megan, I don't know if you experienced this, but just the soundproofing in the hotel was bad. Like I sleep with a white noise machine and earplugs. I got woken up at midnight because I could I thought people were in our room. I thought someone had gotten into our room because of how loud their talking was. And they were in the hallway.
Yeah.
And
No,
I thought they were in our room.
it wasn't that bad for us, but we did get caught off guard the first night because there was turn down service. And I don't know if it's every single night, but I already had the kids in bed because we're coming from the East Coast. The time change was a lot for us. And it was like 7:30 and they knock on the door and I was like, "Who is knocking on our door?" Because I was not expecting that at all. And so that caught me a little off guard. But other than that, like I didn't really notice. We were kind of like in the corner down the hall at the end of a hallway.
Yeah.
So we didn't I don't think we really noticed that too much.
Yeah, and I don't know if it would like, I didn't wanna ask to move rooms because, A, I wasn't sure that even moving rooms would diminish the noise because it was so loud,
Yeah.
but I really liked our room, you know, like, I was like, I wanna stay in our suite, like, I really like it, but that just kinda put a damper on things. So, I would return. Megan, I wanna hear from you too. I w I'm not, like, excited to go back. Like, I would g if I were gonna be in Scottsdale, I would spend a couple of nights there. Alex and Pam and I have been to the Andaz, and I preferred I preferred the Andaz, and I will say that we're getting to a point now where, like, Molly's gonna be 12 this summer. We're sort of aging out of needing those kid activities at resorts. You know, like, we don't need face painting. We don't There was actually one day we were there over Easter, and they had, like, egg painting, and I was like, "Oh, let's go do egg painting while Ted and Charlie are golfing." We go down there. It's like a table full of five-year-olds, and it's not even paint, it's like eggs with little markers, and I was like, "Okay, just kidding, we're not doing this." So,
You decided not to steal a seat from one of the 5-year-olds.
yeah, so I think we're just getting to a point where we don't need there are tons of family activities, like, if that's your thing,
Mhm.
then this is a great place to go. We're just at a point where we don't really need all those activities anymore, and so I like how quiet and relaxed the Andaz is, and they still have a pool. They don't have a huge scary water slide, but they still have a pool, and so I think that that would probably be my preference if I were going to return to Scottsdale.
Yeah, and actually, I was telling Jess earlier that my kids loved this resort. I think we started off on a really great foot. Like, we walked in, go to check in, and they had little gift bags for each of the girls that had a little, like, cactus stuffed animal in it with a book about cactus and prickly
That is
pear
so
cotton
cute.
candy, and it was so cute, and they were like, "This is the best place ever," and we didn't even get to our room yet. Like, and so they loved the pool. We had been to Hyatt Regency Maui before, and I asked them, I was like, "If you had to choose one," they would choose the Grand Hyatt Scottsdale. They actually loved it so much that they were like, "I would rather go back there." But we don't repeat destinations a lot. So if we were going to fly into Phoenix and go to the Grand Canyon and need like a night or two to just settle to the time change, I would probably pick this hotel, especially my kids are under 10. So it's
Yeah.
perfect for us. But if I don't really have a reason to go back to Scottsdale, we kind of did it. We did Saguaro National Park and the rodeo and all that stuff. So I probably would just fly into Vegas if I was going to the Grand Canyon anyways.
All right, so let's head to Albuquerque now. So Megan is going to talk about where they stayed in Albuquerque. I have also stayed at this resort. This was one of my very first points and miles redemptions. And so I'll chime in a little bit, but she stayed much more recently and has a better memory of everything that went on while she was there. So Megan, why don't you tell us about where you stayed in Albuquerque?
All right. So since we had our rental car, we picked it up in Phoenix and then dropped it off in Albuquerque. And on the way, like the halfway point of the drive is Petrified Forest National Park. So that was just a natural stop for us. Like we drove 3 hours, stopped at the national park, spent an hour or two there, and then continued our drive to Albuquerque. And so we stayed at the Hyatt Regency Tamaya. I was pronouncing this wrong for months until we got there and I heard how they actually say it. It is located on the Santa Ana Native American Reservation. And the Native American tribe that lives there on that reservation owns more than 50% of the hotel. And I'm not sure of specific amounts, but they said that the tribe is majority shareholder. So I thought that was really, really cool. And this was like, it was such a good cultural experience because we're in upstate New York. We have a lot of Native American history here, but I don't feel like it's the same as what you can see in New Mexico. So this tribe, it has 900 members now. They at one point had fallen to 200. And they live in a modern village, like on the other side of the mountain, but they maintain their traditional village too. And when you walk into the hotel lobby, it is all like Southwestern Native American like decor. And there's a model of their traditional village. So you can kind of see like how they live there. And they use this for ceremonies like funerals, weddings, big gatherings for holidays, like that kind of stuff. But this also is probably the closest you can get to a dude ranch on Hyatt points. Ever since the small luxury hotels moved away from Hyatt, they have horses on property. They are run separately, but they're like through the hotel. It's a little strange, but I'll get to that point. It was recently renovated too, so it is gorgeous. Like this hotel is only a category 4. It is not expensive. It was so great. I booked it last March, right before it, because it moved from a category 3 to a category 4, and I only paid 12,000 points per night. But at the new rate, it would be 15,000 points per night for just standard pricing. And every room has been touched, like completely renovated. The lobby was completely renovated. The restaurants were done, and it was so beautiful. Like I was like, I wish we had more than 2 nights here. Like it was just so great.
I remember really liking it back when I went, and this was years ago, and obviously it hadn't been updated then. And the fact that it's only a category 4 means you can redeem your category 1 to 4 free night certificates there. So that is a
Yeah.
great option for families looking to do something a little bit different than
Yeah.
go to the beach.
How far away is it from the airport?
Maybe 30 minutes.
Oh, so not
We
bad.
had like a 6 a.m. flight, and we left the hotel at like 3:30, and I was at the airport parking by 4.
Okay, cool.
That's the other nice we forgot to mention, but the Grand Hyatt Scottsdale is also not far, less than 30 minutes from the Phoenix airport. So both of these hotels are really convenient airport-wise.
Yeah. And Albuquerque has that big like hot air balloon festival every October. So I've seen people in our Facebook group messaging, like posting that they're like, we're going to stay there for the hot air balloon festival, and using those free night certificates. That would be a really great value for them, because I'm sure the cash rate is astronomical at that time period. So we were there. The weekend we were there was so busy. It was the weekend after President's Day. There was like a yoga retreat going on. So, which my kids like are running around like kind of crazy, and they were kind of like the only kids there. We saw maybe 2 other kids. So I think this hotel would even be great for like a girls trip, or like trying to just go away as a couples trip, because it's very unique, and it's like in the mountains. It's kind of set away from the city. It's secluded, and you just have like these beautiful like mountain views like right out every window. We had a guest of honor. There were no upgrades for us, and we actually ended up getting one of the last rooms that wasn't renovated.
Oh, shoot.
And it still wasn't terrible. We had a 2-queen room. We had a balcony that overlooked the pool area. It was totally fine. Like it was no big deal. But they did say there was a sign in the lobby. It said renovations will be completed by summer 2025. So over the next couple of months, like we didn't even see any construction. So I would assume they're very close to being done. They probably only have a few rooms left.
Well, speaking of it being a great hotel for, girls getaway or couples getaway, Ted and I stayed there, just the 2 of us. I love how you're talking about like, oh, there's all this culture. We stayed there because we did a Breaking Bad RV tour.
Oh, hilarious.
But we loved it. Like, I agree with you. They had like their restaurant and bar overlooked the mountains.
Mhm.
And so it was really cool. But yes, we went on a Breaking Bad RV tour, which I highly recommend if you're a Breaking Bad fan. I don't even know if they still do them. I assume they do. And then if you like Better Call Saul, some of Better Call Saul was filmed at Hyatt. And so that was my like nerdy interest in staying there. But I agree with you that it was totally good for an adults only getaway or a family vacation.
Yeah. And it's very close to Santa Fe too. So it's kind of in the middle of
Yeah.
like Albuquerque and Santa Fe. So if you have that rental car, it would be so easy to get out and do some other stuff too. So activities at the hotel, there are multiple pools. There's an adults only pool, which is it's like in its own fenced in area that you have to use your key card to get in. So it's not near the big pool. And then there's 2 larger pools with a water slide and a hot tub. And it looked like there was like a splash pad, but since we were there in February, the water slide was closed and the one splash pad kind of pool was closed too. So we just had the main pool and it was heated to 84. And the temperature was like in the mid 60s and we swam both days. Like the girls had no problem. It was fine for them. And they also have tons of free activities included. And we signed up for everything. I was like, we're doing it all. Like, this is so cool. I love it. This is all just free. And you just sign up right on the website. And quite honestly, I think other than the one event, if you just showed up, I don't think they would tell you couldn't come. Like, I don't, I'm sure in the summer when it's very busy, they probably limit the amount of people. But when we were there was only a few people at everything. And so some of the events were they had artisan vendors in the lobby. So they had a woman that was painting pottery that she had they had like little tables set up to sell their stuff. But then while she was sitting there, she was talking to the girls about like the animals that they paint on the pottery and why they use those animals and that kind of stuff. And then there was a guy that was a silversmith and he was like his like 4th generation of silver maker. And he was sitting there pounding the silver, making these like long earrings that were feathers. And it was so fascinating. And we just stood there and just watched him. And he just like chatted away while he was doing it. And it was just so cool that this is just free. And they bring it to the hotel so that you get to experience the local culture. They were explaining that how when they make the earrings, they do one feather from each side of the bird because that's how they would make their headdress when they would do their Native American their dresses for that stuff. And so it was just such a good learning experience for the girls. And then the other event was they had a Pueblo bread buffet, and it was locals brought this bread that was already made, and then they had all these butters and jams that were homemade, and you could just taste it. You just go up and take a plate and take some bread and some jam and take that and go sit down in the lobby, and that was really good. There's also a cultural learning center in the hotel. Like it's in the lobby and you can sign up for tours for that. And then every night they have nightly s'mores that are free. And you just go to the front desk and they give you the long like wooden dowels and like a little bag with some graham crackers, a Hershey bar, and a marshmallow. And outside they had these giant, like really big fire pits just running every single night from like sundown until like midnight. And then our favorite one, what we did was so in the evenings, they do these Pueblo stories and they have a like local storyteller. So each tribe has like their main guy that is in charge of like keeping up with the history of the tribe. And so he came and he told these stories and they were kind of like fables. And he was like, well, these are the stories that we grew up listening to from our grandparents. And he was just like, and we want to share it with other people because if we don't share it, then our culture dies. And I was like, I love this. Like, I just loved it so much. And the girls, they were the only kids there. It was mostly adults. And in the summers, they do it out by the fire pit, which I think is really cool. And then in the winter, we were like in a conference room. And then he like taught some words from their language. And it was just, I just loved it so much.
I want to go back now because I don't know if I didn't get to do this stuff because it wasn't offered or because we weren't really at the resort for very much.
You were too focused on your Breaking Bad.
Yes. I was too focused on going to Los Pollos Hermanos and having some fried chicken. So
yeah.
We weren't really at the resort a ton during the day, but I want to take Molly and go back. And like you said, it's such a good value for only 15,000 points a night.
Yeah, and we were only there for 2 nights. So, like, I had one day where we just, like, signed up for everything. I was like, we're doing everything this day. And then we also did with the stables they have on the property, they do trail rides. So it was $60 a person for 60 minutes. And that was, like, the winter pricing. Regular pricing is $90 a person for 90 minutes. And the minimum age to do this is 8 years old. So Eleanor and Amelia are 8.5. So it was, like, we just made it, and they have no experience riding horses. My oldest competes in English riding, but this was very much Western, like cowboys saddling up the horses and getting us ready. But we all did great. I was kind of nervous because horses kind of freak me out. Like, I don't mind, like, being around them, but being on a horse, I don't know, it feels so high. And it just makes me nervous on an animal you don't know. But it was very well run. It was very controlled. Our group had my 3 kids and then another kid and then probably like 6 or 7 adults. And then from the stables, there were 3 wranglers. So there was one guy that led up in the front. There was a woman who kind of like checked on everybody in the middle. And then there was a woman in the back who just brought up the rear. And at one point, Amelia's horse was going so slow. She was like in no hurry to go anywhere. So the wrangler in the back literally just had her horse like nudging her the whole way, trying to get her to keep up with everyone. But and so this stable it's a nonprofit, and all the horses are rescues. So they are from the local area where either a family can't take care of it any longer, or something happened to the owners, and they take these horses in and they like rehabilitate them and get them accustomed to people and socialize, and I just thought it was really great that this is all a nonprofit and the money is not going to the hotel. Whatever you pay goes directly back to them to help take care of the horses.
That is really cool. Well, I'm like Jess and feeling the same, like, oh, I want to go do this now. Don't know. And seriously, that you can use a Hyatt free night certificate, that's actually kind of crazy.
Yeah.
With
And they had
all
like
that
goats
stuff
and
included.
chickens, and they had all kinds of animals, and they had little bags of like feed that you could take out and feed the horses, and it was so well run for families. Oh, and there were also bikes. You could borrow bikes and helmets and go on the trails and go biking, and that was totally free, just included in the hotel too.
That's fun. It kind of like totally different because you're not getting the Native American experience at the Hyatt Regency Lost Pines, but I can kind of feel like some of that same dude ranch kind of feel where there are those different types of activities that are available. And we loved that. So I'm sure we would probably love this as well.
Yeah, we loved it, and I wish we had probably like, I think 3 or 4 days would have been better than 2, especially because our flight was so early the last morning.
Yeah. Well, we love making family trips happen for a fraction of the cost. When you're paying just $5.60 each way in taxes and $0 out of pockets for your resorts, and you're able to do it on points, it's so easy to say yes to those family vacations. We hope we've given you some inspiration for your next adventure. If you're ready to start traveling on points and miles, register for our free webinar, How to Get Your Next Vacation for Nearly Free. We'll link it in the show notes.
Thanks so much for listening to Points Talk with the Travel Mom Squad. Make sure to hit the subscribe or follow button from wherever you're listening so you never miss an episode. Want to start jet setting even faster? Follow the links in the show notes to learn about everything we discussed in today's episode. And to stay connected and follow along, follow us on Instagram at Travel Mom Squad. We can't wait to see where in the world points and miles take you.